Hey YouTube, how's it going? It is Sonny and making a ramble style video here today. Gonna be talking probably mostly about Yama and the contract system, kind of a little post-mortem. So I made a video, my last video was on the Yama contract system, day of release, and I had some kind of hot takes, wasn't super happy about the system, but they've made some changes since then, and just kind of want to talk about that and where it stands right now. So as you can see, I have completed the Radiant Oathplate. I finished it today. I didn't really pot. I mean, I didn't pot the whole first week because I knew they were going to change it. So it's like, what's the point? And also, I don't want to, buy 5 contracts at a time, deal with a buy limit. So didn't pot it until they changed it, and then didn't even really pot that week because I was just busy with IRL out of town, stuff like that. So kind of started probably like Wednesday, did a few attempts after work on a couple of the contracts, and then this morning grinded out sensory clouding. So just off the cuff, I mean, I think the changes they made were really good. So my first video on the contracts, I was very negative. I really did not like them. I thought they were really bad, and they've changed a lot of what I didn't like. So for the most part, they've scaled down like the defense and the HP levels to normal Yama basically. So the fights aren't like complete grind fest, which is nice. They're actually kind of relatively quick, and they made P3 longer, which is the most interesting part. So you don't grind through the boringness of, P1 and P2 is just like, it's just glyph management, and it's not difficult, it's just tedious. So the fact that that's significantly slower is really nice. So super happy about the way they did that. And then the actual mechanical changes, I mean, obviously changing bloodied so you don't splash was something they needed to do because that was basically bugged. I mean, it had to have been bugged. There's no way they meant for you to splash and just chance that. And then also changing the chip damage is good. It makes it a little easier to actually like get the KC versus, I mean, it was basically impossible to not constantly chance yourself before. So yeah, I think those are good. Oh, also, as you can see, I got the pet too. And I'll talk about it a little later, but did not actually get it from the pet contract. I got spooned, which is nice for the first time ever, actually. It's the first time I've ever gotten a pet under the drop rate, believe it or not. And I'm convinced, actually, that the reason I got it was because I deactivated my Twitter again. The only pets I've ever gotten is when I've been off Twitter. I got Corp after I deactivated Twitter, and now I've got the Yami after I deactivated Twitter. So super stoked. This is like one of my favorite pets in the game. But yeah, going back to the contract. So bloodied, like really good. I guess just kind of in order, like the order I did it, I did fortified breath first. That one's probably the easiest. I mean, it took me like 10 attempts just because I didn't know how to do the skips for the P3 waves. I was just like doing the timing based off of the normal Yama like wave skips, and so I just didn't really even know how to time it. And so I finally watched like the Kirby guide on, I think, bloodied, and how he skips the waves on bloodied, and just kind of used that idea on the on fortified. And once I did that, I think I got it in like 2 or 3 attempts. It's really not difficult at all. It's not really any real changes to the base Yama encounter. I did the glyphic next, actually, because I did the glue eater ZCB method, and I was afraid they were going to nerf it. So I just wanted to get it out of the way. And I also think Glyphic is, I would recommend doing Glyphic before Bloodied for sure, because Glyphic is such a long kill, and you're doing, especially if you're going to do the ZCB method. If you're going to do the ZCB method, Glyphic is a really long kill, really long P3, and it really helps practice like your P3, because you need a perfect P3 for bloodied. If you make one mistake, take any damage, you're going to die because you're camping like 10 HP. So would definitely recommend doing Glyphic first. And yeah, I did the ZCB glue eater method. I mean, it's cheesy. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish it wasn't in the game, honestly, and I say that as someone who did it. So obviously, like, now it's, oh, now you've already done it, so now you want, you don't care if anyone else does it. And it's like, yeah, sure. But it is kind of lame that you don't have to melee Yama for really any of the contracts. And that's kind of the one you're supposed to melee him, and you just camp ZCB. But yeah, I mean, that one's easy. I did that in like 6 attempts. It was honestly like completely free. Divine Severance was the next. I actually really enjoyed Divine Severance, mostly because like P3, you're doing a lot of clicking because of the orbs. So P1 and P2 sucks. I mean, it's like they're so long because of all the orbs. It's not fun. I mean, it's too long, but P3, because you're kind of having to like lazy flick the attacks, and you also get like more orbs. There's just more going on. You're just clicking more on P3. So I thought the P3 was good. I did Bloodied after that. Bloodied, I think, is the best one. It took me like, probably like 11 Bloodied attempts. I didn't think it was actually that hard now that they made the changes. I mean, especially if you really get P3 down. That's why I would do some of the other contracts first. Because if you really get P3 down, then Bloodied doesn't, it's not that hard. I mean, you just need a perfect P3. And the HP management, I honestly thought was pretty easy. You don't even really need, like, I brought the Locator Orb and the Rock Cake, and you don't really need the Rock Cake that much. I mean, I used it to get down to like 15 HP after I killed the judge, but once you're in P3, I mean, you can kind of just camp down to like 7, 8 HP, and then you'll just heal back up with a Guthix Rest, or you can use, you can rest back up at like 10 HP, or you can use the Moth at like 7 or 8, so I didn't think the managing the HP was that difficult. I mean, I don't think I'd have to look back, but I don't think I got chanced a single time, honestly, on that. Just like camping below his max hit. So yeah, I thought that was a really fun contract, and it's so fast paced. That's the best part too. I mean, you're just like constantly hitting. And I got it a lot. Like I think like 2 attempts after I switched to the surge, or yeah, the surge staff camp. I was doing the shadow, and then I was switching to the purge staff. I was switching to the purging staff to kill the orbs, but then I realized like you're just doing a lot of clicking, and I would miss like the shield switch sometimes, and I wouldn't one hit the orb, and then you're like completely screwed. So I just decided to camp the purging staff and not use shadow at all, and it's basically the same DPS, and it's just less clicks and just like simplifies P3. So I would recommend that if you guys are gonna attempt that. And then the last one, Sensory. This is like the hardest one. I mean, pretty much consensus hardest contract. I did the Joe Watermelon, like Joack method. Basically like a Boack where you run around the room, you skip the waves. It's a solved P3 really if you do it. It's a tick perfect method, but if you do it right, then you will solve P3. I mean, you won't die at P3. So I did that. It took me 22 attempts, I think. And once I kind of got really the hardest part about that method is like setting up Yama in the right spot at the start, like at the very start of P3. Because sometimes I would like drag him too close to, the tile you need to camp on to skip the wave, and then he would melee. And like if you take a melee at that point, it's really hard to recover. You can, but it's really hard to recover from there. So yeah, that was kind of like where I messed up the most. And I mean, the first couple attempts, like P1 and P2, I would kind of like throw. But then you honestly can just treat P1 and P2 like a normal kill and just flinch. Like you don't even need to flinch every time. You can just kind of flinch like half the time whenever you feel like it. Whatever. But I would definitely recommend that, because the people I know who did like the scourging bow method and mage took them like 40, 50 attempts to do it. Pretty much all of them. Versus yeah, like I did the watermelon method, took me like 20 attempts. It's pretty much solved. I mean, I would say probably takes you like 3 or 4 attempts to get the rotation really down, and then once you get the rotation down, like you're cooking. You've got it pretty much in the bag. So yeah, I finished that one this morning. Left that one for last, and I would recommend probably leaving it for last because it is the hardest. And it's not like Blorva. I did the hardest ones first. And with Blorva, I think the skills aren't very translatable because they're different bosses. So it's like you can go do Vard first and then Levy, and like it won't matter for doing Duke or Whisper. But for Yama, I would do the easier ones first, because like getting good at P3 and like really getting comfortable with the P3 and skipping the bombs and skipping the waves and getting your prayers right, all of that really it's a really good skill to have for the harder contracts when you have more to do. So it all kind of builds on each other. I would recommend doing the easier ones first. But, if you want to try to do Sensory first, like feel free. I mean, at least Sensory is not, if you do the Joack, it's not super similar to the others because you're doing like a different P3 method. So, if you want to do that earlier, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, final thoughts. I think they're actually not that bad now that I've done them. And I think the changes are really good. I mean, before the changes, they were horrible. They were a slog. And even, I stand by everything I said in that video. I mean, 3 out of the 5 were bugged on release. So, it was just completely stupid. The other contracts, like the non Radiant Oathplate contracts, I haven't done them yet. I mean, I might try some. Really, like the biggest one I've seen is like the the pet contract. I was really upset about how they did the pet contract, and now they did change it to 1 out of 100, and both people get the 1 out of 100. And I think that's okay, but really my main issue now is you can cheese it. So if you guys don't know, there's a method where you basically Emberlight spec Yama. I think like 7 times is the threshold, and he becomes a chicken. He has zero, like zero attack, and so then you just stand there on P3 and you just skip the waves and you just tank his melees and you kill the orbs, and it's like completely brain dead. It's a total glue eater method. So I don't know. The fact that like the pet now is like a 10-hour grind and you don't even have to really do like that hard of a contract. Like the contract's kind of trivial now, is a little lame. But it's better than where it was before. So if they want to leave it like this, I'd rather have a system like this than we did before. But yeah, I mean, in general, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little selfish because I got the pet from just normal KC, and now it's like kind of chaos elite pet. Really, I mean, it's like a 10-hour grind for the Yami pet. It's so free now, so like everyone's gonna have it, which, and it's a sick pet. I don't care if everyone gets the pet, honestly. Like it, it's a cool pet. So, and if I didn't get spooned, I'm sure I would have liked being able to cheese it. So I don't know. Just kind of my thoughts on that. And the other contracts, I haven't really done them yet, but I mean, the whole like getting guaranteed Oathplate stuff is just, I don't think it's that great of an idea. Like, how much is Oathplate now? 120 mil for per piece. I don't know. I get that the contracts are rare, but also it's just like we just don't need that in the game. I still think the contract system was a bad idea. Like they were trying to do too much. Then the CAs, like they released the CAs. I'm really honestly surprised they didn't put full Radiant Oathplate on the GMs. I honestly kind of wish they go back and revise that or look at it, because I mean, I did them all. I finished the Radiant Oathplate, and I guess you say, oh, like well, you did it late after all the guides came out, and yeah, that's true. But I did Blorva like 3-4 months after it came out versus I think, what has it been, like 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks since Radiant Oathplate came? I did it. So, compared to Blorva, I did this way sooner after release than Blorva. And it took me way less attempts, even though it's only like, well, I guess not way less, but there's 5 fights for Radiant versus 4 for Blorva. I think it took me like 80, 86 orbs for Blorva, and it took me like 54 contracts for Radiant Oathplate total. So, yeah, I mean, it took me less attempts for more fights. I honestly thought it was easier. Like, the hardest one was Sensory, and it took me 22, versus Vard alone, I think, took me like 40 orbs when I did Blorva. So, yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put it on there, and I think it should be on there, because, again, I don't think it's substantially harder than Blorva, and, I think they should put it on there. And as far as the armor itself, too, like, I don't know, it looks fine. I like the unkitted one. Kitted one is just, I mean, obviously with the Blorva helmet looks horrible, and I've got like my transmog plugin set up, as you can see here. So basically we kitted out, and then you also have the old Torva. I have a video on this if you guys want to have old Torva, by the way. I have a video on how to get that. But yeah, basically like I have it set up here, so if I have the Blorva helm on and Radiant on, then it transmogs it to the helmet. So at least it doesn't look terrible like on my screen if I'm doing Tob or something. But if any of my friends, like, I'm raiding with other people, I don't know, like, it looks fine. I mean, this is kind of a cool setup, honestly. I don't hate the look with this, the Fortnite scythe, although, like, I just have this for the Fashionscape fit right now. I will bank the Fortnite scythe. Like, I'm not actually going to use the Fortnite scythe. I think the same scythe looks way better, but, yeah, I mean, it looks okay. It's just kind of a little disappointing because I think Blorva looks, like, incredible, and like this is just kind of an okay version. So I don't know, maybe they'll change it eventually. And I wish there was a set effect. I know people are talking about, like, I don't know, I wonder if they'll nerf it. So I'm not sure if they'll end up nerfing it, but yeah, that's kind of like my final thoughts on Yama, the contract system. Another thing I kind of wanted to hit on as well is the summer sweep up. So those blogs came out, and I haven't gone over, I'm not going to make a video like going over blog for blog, but I am really excited. I think the changes are for the most part good. I do think it's a little funny that it's like the summer sweep up, but in actuality it's like the mod arcane sweep up, because like 75% of all those bosses that they're changing are bosses that mod arcane designed and just are kind of bad. like the biggest stuff going on is the TOA change. So the TOA drop rate change. First off, they released another blog yesterday, kind of detailing what was going to go on with that. Thought that was really interesting to see. What I really like to see is they broke down like the purple rates from invocation levels. So, and I'd have to remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it was something like less than 30% of all purples came from raids under 300, even though like 60% of all the completions were raids under 300. And if you look, like 17% or something of completions were raids over 400, but like 40% of all the purples in game were from over 400 in Votoas, which is really, like, I've said this since the very beginning. A lot of people are saying like, oh, like the reason TOA prices are so low is because you can get a shadow from a 150 invo raid. And I've always said like that's completely false. The 150 Andes, the Redditors running 150 TOAs dying 4 times are not flooding the market with shadows. It's the, PVMers running, 5-man, 540s, getting a purple every other raid and getting a shadow. Like, you're getting a shadow every like 50 raids or something. I mean, no, it's like every 100 raids. But still, like, regardless, every 100 raids, like, that's insane. Like, they're the ones pumping in the purples and the shadows in the market, and they're why it's so cheap. And I mean, you can see from the stats, that's totally the answer. It's the high end Votoas have always been pumping them out, and they totally knee jerked it. I mean, I've said it since day one. They totally knee jerked the drop rate changes because a bunch of content creators got upset because they went like 2x dry of a purple doing like a 300 level TOA, and they're like, oh, this shit's not worth it. The 150s are pumping items in the game, because I went on Reddit, and like, of course, if you go day of release on Reddit, you're going to see a bunch of 150 shadows, because there are tens of thousands of Redditors running 150 TOAs. So like, there's just so many more people doing low level TOAs. The odds are, like, just looking at statistics, of course they're gonna get a couple shadows, and they're all gonna post it on Reddit, and then your perception is gonna be totally skewed because you don't see the other 9,000 people who haven't gotten jack shit. So I don't know. I've always been like upset about how they handled that situation and how they listened to the content creators there. And I always thought the people who thought the issue with, they're like, oh, we'll just change the shadow to level 300 up and it solves the problem. And I've always said, no, it will not solve the problem. And yeah, I mean, looking at the numbers, it totally would not solve the problem. So really glad they're doing just a flat nerf. And it's a pretty heavy nerf too. If you look at the numbers, like, I want to say a 540 will now become like the new 400 for TOA drop rate. So it's a pretty heavy nerf, which is totally deserved. And changing the Fang weighting to is great. I still don't understand why they didn't do that day one. I mean, it was so stupid. Like, when they nerfed the Fang originally, people were saying, oh, we should change, just keep it the same and change the weighting. And they were like, well, we don't want to do that because the cat's already out of the bag. And I remember, like, they had a Q&A or something, and this is the exact terminology they used. They said, well, it's too late now. We already have the rates in the game. We can't change them, so we just have to nerf it. And now we're going back years later and changing it. So it's like, obviously it's not too late because we're doing it now. So we should have just ripped the band-aid off years ago. Better late than never, though. So yeah, TOA changes with the drop rates are good. With the mechanics, they're for the most part good. The only thing I think is it just makes TOA like super, super easy. I mean, it was already kind of an easy raid, and now I don't know. It just seems like it's like completely free. So I guess it makes it less tedious, and I don't think it was very difficult to begin with. But yeah, I mean, like, Baba just being able to just AFK the boss, basically. I mean, at least you interact with the mechanics. It's better than red Xing, so you were AFKing before, but like Akka is going to be a lot easier. So I don't know. We'll see when it comes out how it feels, but it's going to be easy. So it's going to be easy, and it's going to have less purple. So I don't know. We'll see. Other changes, though, like the Fasani Nightmare stuff is great. Especially someone with 18 KC. Love the fact that we're putting the tablet at 25 KC. The only thing I will say is that it's a little disappointing. I kind of hate it when we get these like QOL, like these really awesome QOL changes teased, and then it like takes months until they come into the game, because like, as it stands now, I have zero reason to go do Fasani's Nightmare. And I don't mind the boss. I think it's kind of a fun boss, but there's no reason for me to go grind it, because it's like, well, they're about to change it, so why would I go like grind this shit out when they're going to change it in 2 months, and it's just totally not worth it. And that's kind of how I felt when like the Chambers QOL stuff came out. It's like, why would I go do Chambers when they're about to make it like way better? So I don't know, it just kind of like de-incentivizes you to do content. Except I guess Toa, like you're incentivized to grind Toa right now because it's gonna be like worse money once they make the changes. But and like DT2 too, the ring visage, so you'll get to see when you have a ring, like you roll one out of the three of the rings will be awesome. I haven't seen though if they've said that it's gonna be like retroactive. So like, can I go see how many ring rolls I'm at Vard right now? I highly doubt they'd be able to do that. But if they do, that would be awesome. It would just kind of suck to like not know because I've already done all these KCs and I'm like 500 KC and I have no idea if I'm like I can be 0 out of 3. I have no clue. So I guess at least if I go back and do Vard, hopefully they'll have it set up so if I do like if I'm 1 out of 3 right now and I roll another ring, it'll tell me I'm 2 out of 3 and not 1 out of 3. Like it'll know how many I had already rolled like retroactively. So I haven't seen anything on how they're going to handle that, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the summer sweep up stuff. Like other stuff going on in the game. Project Xanaris getting scrapped is obviously really big news, and I've kind of been a proponent for not bringing Project Xanaris in. I'm gonna make another video probably this weekend, sometime maybe Sunday, about Project Xanaris and Jagex's like finances as a whole. I made a video a couple months ago on Jagex's finances and like their financial statements when they had the whole like survey fiasco, and they actually I think yesterday actually they released their financial statements for 2024, so for last year. And I think that's like pretty good to go and like kind of see stuff going on in the game. I think when I read through it yesterday and like looking at that kind of explains a lot about what they're doing with like why they scrapped Project Xanaris, like why there's RS3 layoffs. So yeah, I'll make a video on that sometime this weekend. Be on the lookout for that. And then I have not forgotten, I will make a Tob walkthrough with a new tech as well. I have actually like a 1330 4-man raid saved, which it's crazy with money. Is like 1330 is now like kind of an average money time. But it was when we like first were doing it, and I think I was South Mage, so I have like a 1330 South Mage POV save, so I can voice over that, upload that if I have time this weekend. If not, like probably get it out next week or something. But yeah, Tob, super fun now, and I guess now we just wait for Delve, which is supposed to come out in July. Which I don't know if we'll still see it in July. I feel like there's been so much going on that I wouldn't be surprised if it got pushed back, and I honestly wouldn't mind too much if it got pushed back into August. I mean, I'm not in a rush. I need to make more money for the Delve rewards because I spent all this money on all the Yama stuff. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening. If you guys made it all the way through, I hope you guys have a great weekend and the rest of your day.